Yeah, good afternoon, traders. Good day, how are you doing? I remain my humble self, Banks FS, the founder of KoleForex Academy, and today we're dealing with something very important that a lot of questions have been coming up for. I noticed that we had a post on our IG page and TikTok about a trade that we're holding for 2 months plus, and a lot of questions has been coming in. See, traders asking, how do you manage to hold trade for complete 2 months? How do you manage yourself? And the truth is this, guys, it's not every day you see this kind of a trade. Yeah, it's not every time. But whenever it comes, you have to take advantage of it, because the profit draw when you can be able to wait for the charts to play out based on the strategy or based on the patterns that it likes to trade. We'll be looking at how we're able to swing, having close to about 400 pips, and how we're able to pull up, because there's a question the guy saying that was asking that how do you know when to take your profit when you're swinging and you're holding your trade for a very long time? Also, another thing, within that particular time frame, we also have some day trading, we have some scalping movements within this. For those of us who has been missing from our technical Tuesdays or technical Thursdays, please try to always join us. We make it open to all son and sundry now, so that you can also see the way we trade live on our charts. So today I'll be showing us how we swing for those people that want to learn that concept. I know that's a question I've been getting. So in respect to that, if you are yet to subscribe to the channel, please click that button, subscribe, follow up for more tips like this. So now let's go to the chart, guys. Let's go to the charts now. So for a swing trader, you should be able to see the market from the bigger picture, looking at what the market is saying, looking at how the big boys are also looking at the market. Looking at this particular chart now, I can tell you that the market is a bullish market. The reason is because if you check what we have here, we have a shift to the upside, break of structures. We're expecting the uptrend in the market. But as we all know that as a trader, we all know that the market does not really move in a straight line. We expect the markets to buy, to sell at the same time. For the market to even buy, definitely the market is going to sell. And why for the market to sell? Definitely the market is going to buy as well. So we're looking at this chart, and I was like, okay, we had a valid OB down here. This is a valid OB down here. And we had an idea. I was okay, I'm expecting the markets to come and mitigate this OB for this uptrend to continue. Yeah, because the uptrend is a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And we had this higher high, higher low. We're expecting a new higher high, right? To create a new higher low, to go and create a new higher high. So that was the expectation on this particular trend. And I was like, okay, since we still have a valid OB down there, so I'm expecting markets to mitigate that particular OB. And now looking at it, I was expecting a correction on this particular chart. I was expecting a correction. If you check what we have now, the major reason why we took the sell is because these guys were doing higher high, higher lows. And we have these higher highs because this high is higher than this previous one. And the market printed this particular bearish candle here. This bearish candle was a very strong one. Never forget that we are projecting that you are expecting markets to come and mitigate this particular OB down here, which happens to be a weekly OB. And looking at it, how can we join the sell? Normally, I should have been waiting for the markets to come back here for you to join the buy. But when you understand your trend and you have your additional confidence that you wash out before taking your trade, definitely can jump on a trade like this. So we try to join them for the correction. Why? Because we had this particular bearish pin bar here on the weekly time frame. If you are the type that would like to trade this particular concept, go and run your back testing on the pin bars, especially on the weekly and the daily. Whenever it forms, especially if it's forming direction of your trend, you notice that the markets move very well towards that particular direction. So I had this particular bearish pin bar, and we have this one too. Because of that, I felt like, okay, let's see how we can partially join this market to the downside, because we're expecting markets to come and mitigate this part of the weekly OB. Now we step down to the daily time frame within that particular range. Now checking the daily time frame, the market was also going up at initial stage. Why? We have higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. So at the time we were planning to take this trade, the market has given us a shift to the downside. Yes, we got a shift to the downside, giving us a break of structure, which is a shift of the market trend to the downside, because at initial stages happens to be a higher low that's supposed to go and create a higher high. And now market push to the downside, taking out that previous level. So we target as a change of character to the downside, looking at that daily time frame. And for us to have a clearer move, the 4 hours now give us a very good concept based on impulse movement and correction. For those of you who are following us, our videos on the YouTube here, I made a video for you to follow up your trend. Please, if you have not watched that video, try to go and check the links down there and watch that video. Purely market structure, looking at impulse movement and correction, just like something like this. Impulse, you're expecting a correction to create another impulse movement, correction to create another impulse movement. So this was the concept that we need to add to what we were seeing on that weekly time frame. Now looking at it now on the 4 hours, there's a clear change of character to the downside on the 4 hours. And since we trade the SMC, we're looking for the valid levels at which we can join the market. This was the first one we had it. Then this happens to be the second one. So looking at it, we're like, okay, let's see where the market will start respecting our orders. So we had the first valid order block there that break the structure to the downside, and we have this one which happens to be the extreme order block. And because of that, we're like, okay, let's play the game since we are working on probabilities. So the first thing we had here is we already gotten an impulse movement from this hand to this downside. This is a very clear impulse movement for me that breaks structure to the downside. And when I noticed that when the market was giving this correction, the market was printing more candles. So that has given me an additional confidence in taking this particular sell. The first one is we had a weekly bearish pin bar that's giving us that, okay, at least for the next few weeks, this particular market can be selling. Outside that, we now notice that on the 4 hours time frame, there's a change of character to the downside. And having a change of character to the downside, we now have a correction, which is this particular correction here. Coming back, the reason why we took the sell from this first OB was because of this particular correction. It was a very nice move. So we're like, okay, if the market won't respect this first OB we're looking at, then definitely we are coming to the extreme one here to trade. Due to experience, I don't just trade my order blocks alone. There's something we call the psychological price. So I was having a order block aligning with my psychological price, which happens to be this line here. And that was my entry point. We had, I think it was a 15-minute stop loss for that range. It was a 15-minute stop loss. So we're expecting markets to come to that order block, respect the other block, and start selling. And looking at it, that was the genesis of that trend. The market just dropped from that level. For those of us that attend our technical Tuesdays, I know that we had under setup here again, a valid order block here again, which if you see, the market just driving the same concept, correction, the same concept. And the market came into that particular hobby, respect our entry conditions, and do what? The sell continue. That's one of the technical Tuesday or Thursday that we had this, okay, I'm ready on the sell here, happens to be from the first entry. And now we're having this particular correction here. And at the time we're even having this one, I was expecting more of the correction back to this level, which the market did not give to us until we got here. So we had this impulse movement again to the downside here, and we had another good correction that respect this particular OB. Now looking at it, the question is, how do you know that this market will continue selling? How do you know that this market is coming to this particular OB? If you check on the weekly time frame, this particular OB here happens to be the extreme OB. Yeah, can you see? This is a valid weekly OB. So I already marked out that I'm expecting markets to mitigate this particular OB before the uptrend will continue. So that was the reason why our target was this particular OB. Though we took profit before market getting there. I mean, we took profit at 400 pips or so, I think 405 or so. So let's come back to 4 hours, because I spend more time on 4 hours because I'm a swing trader. We had this second entry again, and if we check here, we have in total, it was 405. Yes, 405. Now we had another entry here that gave us another good re-entry. Now, there was another technical Tuesday, it was a very strong swing trading. So we're just ready to hold it. So the following technical day, we had this entry again, which we had analysis on our chart, and everybody was like, okay, we have two positions already. This market is selling. Currently now we're expecting market to give us correction. Please take notes if you are looking at this chart very well. See here, impulse movement, the same concept, impulse movement, and see we are having a good correction back to a valid order block. I think this concept is so easy that when you understand your chart, when you understand how the markets move, it makes things very easy for you. A lot of our community members were like jumping into it because we already have two entries from that extreme, and currently now we are having the correction back to this 4 hours OB. So it was very easy for us to say, okay guys, we're expecting sell continuation. For those of us who have not been able to join the sell from the up over there, then let's join the sell, because we're expecting this guy to come back to the weekly OB before the uptrend continue. And having it, we're able to have some nice sell from that place, which happens to be the second entry. Now, looking at that, we're able to have another entry on the 1 hour, which happens to be those trades that we took for, let me call it the intradays, the scalpers. Yes, it was this level here. We had this level here, which some of our community members also jump in, having the sell to the downside. So looking at it, I think this FX here for Ohanda, it mitigated a particular OB which we took a sell from on Ohanda. It mitigated a particular OB we took a sell from. I think, let me show you guys. So if you see, okay, can you see that on Ohanda, it gives us that entry on Ohanda. This is the trade here. So it gives us a very clean one on Ohanda, and we took that sell to the downside. So looking at it, all what we have to do is just to follow the market direction. As long as you understand where the market is at, as long as you understand what the big boys are looking for in the market. And for the sake of this trade, we're holding for a whole 2 months. Now, this is where the question comes in. How do you manage yourself when you are in this kind of a trade? The first thing I will always advise is learn how to manage your trade very well, which is very important, because trade management is another thing on its own. You can learn how to trade the strategy, but how do you manage yourself? How do you manage your trade? And one thing I used to do is, if I'm on a trade like this and the trade is running average of 1 to 5 in profit, so what I do is I'll take partial profit. In business, they always say that pay yourself first. So what I do is, once I see 1 to 5 in profit, I take partial. So I'll take 30% of my profit. How does that happen? Let's assume I'm using 1 lot size as my entry. Once I see ratio 1 to 5, the next thing I do is I will reduce my lot size. That instead of the 1 lot size, I will reduce it to 0.70. So I've taken 30% profit to myself, and as that junction, I will also break even. So that means I'll move my stop loss to my entry price. So once the trade is running and I've been able to achieve that, then I don't need to disturb myself again. I just allow the trades to do its thing. See what has happened. The market has drawn close to about, say, almost 188 pips here, right? And we had this deep correction. It takes a lot of discipline for you to feel like, okay, this market is still coming my way. And the point is, it's not all the trades that goes like this. Just like what I said at the beginning of this video, don't expect all your setup to give you the same move. It's not possible. But whenever the market is presenting that kind of move to you, have you prepared yourself to take advantage of the market based on how you've trained yourself, how you've trained your eyes to recognize those kind of opportunities in the market? So the question is, you must learn how to manage your trade very well. Now, another question that I got based on this particular setup is, someone said, how do you manage your psychology? Yeah, that's why I said this kind of a trade does not come every day. Talking about how you manage your psychology, right? You must know who you are. If you are going to be a scalper in the markets, then focus on your scalping. Take your 15-20 pips sharp and move out of the market. That's what that works for you. But if you're the type that can be patient enough to wait for markets to do its things, then definitely you must have mastered how different kind of traders move and come back to your, even though to your Excel. I know I've have a trader that was running about 150 pips after taking partial profits, and the guy came back, take me out at break even. So It's part of the experience for you to be a swing trader. You must be ready to take all those blows from the market. So you must have that stable mindset. You must have that financial intelligence to hold the trade in respect to the direction of the market. And the most important thing is, I think you have to understand how the markets move. The market move in waves. So looking at it, you're taking a trade. You already know that the market will never move in a straight line. So you must be able to manage your trade, also manage yourself. That's why taking partial profit is very important. Do you know the joy that you have when you notice that you've secured some profits already and you allow the trades to run? There's this joy that gives to you. So as a trader, I will always advise, try to master yourself. You can learn the strategies very easy, but you must know what works for you in the market. So for the sake of AD New Zealand, that give us about 400 pips, 4 or 5 pips, is all about following the trend and see what happened when market came back to our weekly will be where we're expecting the markets to sell to. Never forget that when the trades was selling, we'd not even wait for the markets to mitigate this particular before we pull out. So as that 400 pips were out of the market, which is very okay. I think this guy gave on the first entry, we have about ratio 1 to 27. That's a very good one. Just one trade, Even though if we had a couple of trades within that 2 months and we're negative, why some were also giving us nice profit. But we're not moved just because we have a trade that is seriously whipping in blues. So and that's the joy of you holding your trade. So I will advise, learn how to follow the trend, understand what the big boys are doing, then learn to see the higher time frame candles, just like the way I was able to show us this pin bar strategy now. It's a very good one. Okay, if you want me to make a video on this, please go on the comment section. Just type it there, make a video on the pin bar strategy, which I'm going to show us. Just like what I was trying to show you there. Can you see that when market came to this particular whole bit to mitigate it, what happened? It creates another bullish pin bar. That is the secret of the market. The candles are the gods of the market. So when they speak, as a trader, I should be a priest that understand the language of the market. So the candle speaks. So imagine having another bullish pin bar. That's a sign that the big boys are ready to start going up. That does not mean that this guy cannot sell fine, but you should be able to listen to all those language, which is the candles formations for you. So that's just what we have on AD New Zealand. I don't want this video to be too long like that. Try to watch it, try to study it, and I'll be making more videos just like what I said. Just go to the comment section, let me know if you want me to make a video on the secrets of the pin bar. So I'll do that for you guys. Thank you for your time, thank you for watching. And never forget, as a trader, you are only in business when you have your capital. Don't blow your capital so that you won't be out of the market. Enjoy the rest of your day. Profit, guys.